Oh, you cat sneezed on me. It's a great way to start. But welcome to my little corner of YouTube where I talk about books that I'm reading, books that I'm writing. I am BB Morgan, Beatrice B. Morgan. I write mostly fantasy, romantic fantasy, mostly, not so much romantasy. I like plot in my books. I need plot in my books. And with just a little bit of romance in there. But what? Do you want to be part of it? You want to Oh, do you want to join? Is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted? I don't think this is what he wanted. You wanna hang out? Anyway, I have Milo here helping me out. It's hard to do with a cat on my lap. You're gonna flop, you're gonna fall on the floor. So rather than doing a bunch of videos about, telling other people how they should do things, I'm not gonna do that moving into 2026. I don't like those videos of myself. Like, I have several that I've done that I've tried to like edit, and I don't like the way I sound. I come across very disgenuine, and I don't like it. And opposed to like the videos where I'm just talking about what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, books that I'm working on, books that I'm reading. I like those a lot better, and they're easier to do, they're easier to edit because there's not so many those awkward pauses where I just and like where I stop because I don't know what my next thought needs to be. I'm also holding a cat from falling on the floor, so that's what's happening down here. No, emotional support. Yes, you're doing a great job. But moving into 2026, what I want to do is rather than have weekly videos of me telling you how you should be writing or doing whatever it is, I'm just going to be doing like a weekly author journal post where I'm just stop picking, where I just talk about what I've done that week as far as like writing goes and what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling about, what I've written, what I haven't written, publishing, books, all the fun stuff. Ow, ow. Okay, you're gonna have to go on the floor. No, Mr. Kitty Cat, you're gonna have to hang out in the floor for a little bit, okay? For this week, for example, I've been working on book 4 of this high fantasy, romantic fantasy quartet. I really thought I would be done with the first draft of this book by the end of December. That was my goal. So that way, moving into January, I could start my little author journal thing while starting a whole new project. And that way I could kind of show behind the scenes of what it's like writing a book from scratch, like starting with just a basic rough draft and moving into, how long does it take to get to that final project? And just all the thoughts and the doubt and the confidence that kind of swirl together while I'm writing on a book, while I'm, in the process of drafting and revising and thinking. Because those are the videos that I like to watch, is like other authors talking about their process and the things that they went through in the process of writing a book and all the things that they thought and all like the doubts that they had. It's different being on like the other side, knowing or not knowing rather, like all of the things that go into a book and all of the time and effort and energy and tears that go into a book. Because when you pick a book off a shelf, you have the finished product. You don't necessarily have that idea of what all went into that product to get it to where it is. All the drafts and revisions and like big story changes or plot twists that weren't in like the first draft. I wanted to kind of throw that curtain back a little bit to kind of show what it's like behind this curtain as I write like a whole new project. But as of today, it is the 24th of December, and I'm not done with book 4 because I haven't been in the mindset to rough draft, which is what book 4 needs. The first half of book 4, let me preface. The first half of book 4 of this quartet is solid. It's in like maybe second draft mode because I've gone over it several times, and the story is definitely there. It needs some like trimming and like a little straightening up, but the story is there. The middle, it's a little more on like the not rough draft, more on like the first draft side where there's threads that I kind of leave hanging off, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just go through that, as I revise and fix those things, which is how I revise things. I know there's like threads that I kind of leave dangling, and I'll either go back and weave them back in or just cut them entirely if I don't have anywhere else to put them. The second half of like the third or the second half of like the second act and the third act were very rough. Like the second half of Act Two was there. It was very like in rough draft, which is me just basically kind of blocking out some scenes. But Act Three was basically in like bullet point form, which is me very, very basically saying kind of what I wanted to happen. And the problem was, and has been for a long time, because book four has been, let's just say, I've tried to go back and I've tried to revise this book many times, and I have stopped kind of around the midpoint each time, which is why the first half is a lot better than the second half, because it's difficult for me, or it has been difficult to work on like book four when book one hasn't been published, when no one has read book one. It doesn't even like, it's not out there. No one has read it. I don't even know if people are going to like this series or not. I don't even know if there's like, what if there's a major plot hole in book one that's going to change the entire series and I'm gonna have to do another revision and I'm just wasting my time doing book four. That's kind of the reason why book four still isn't done or hasn't been done. Because book one I started, I think, in 2019. That's when like the first kind of inspiration kind of struck. I didn't write it in 19. I started the process in 19, and then there's a lot of thinking that goes on with like any book that I start. The cat was looking at that chair very suspicious. Now it's in the chair. It's fine. So my goal for this year was to uh go through that whole series again, kind of do a quick, read through revision. And book one and book two, I did very quickly. Book three, I think I went through it 3 different times because it needed a little bit of work. It's had some thing. And then I finished it and I tried to go back into book four. And I got to the point in book four that I had always stopped, and I stopped again. I think part of the reason why I stopped there this time is because I knew there were things in book three that I needed to fix. I didn't think we're gonna alter book four, but that was in like the back of my mind, just like nagging that like book three's not done yet. Book three's not done yet. Why are you going into book four when book three's not done yet? So I've been kind of doing like a tandem revision where I'm, depending on what mode my brain is in, whether it's in like the mode where I can revise like a finished draft, or if I am in rough draft mode where I can just go. Because working on like a later draft, like draft 4 or 5, is not the same thing as working on like a first draft or a rough draft or even trying to rough draft. And my brain needs to be in the right mindset to do either one. And I have not been in rough draft mode for a while. Granted, I think I used all my rough draft points earlier this year when I was rough drafting that Frosty High Fantasy duology, and then I spit out that Cinderella retelling. Like I had several rough drafts that I did like right in a row. So I've been struggling to get the rough draft of book four done, or rather the rough draft of Act 3 done. And I also kind of came to the realization as I'm thinking about book four and as I'm trying to figure out, why can I not finish this book? Why am I getting stuck? A lot of what drafting is, especially rough drafting, is thinking. There's a lot of thinking that goes involved. Because I will work on a book on Sunday, and then I will spend the next 5 days while I'm working and not working on a book thinking about it. It will be just like an open tab in the back of my mind, just loading, trying to buffer. And so I sat down and I was like, what do I need to happen? Why am I struggling with this book? And I came to the conclusion over the course of, some time that I wasn't sure what I wanted to happen, how it was going to happen, and if I could fit everything that needed to happen in the span of like half of a book. Because the draft that I had was already, I think, 97,000 words long, and I still had to fit Act 3 in there. So, and all of my other books, so the other 3 books in the series, are all about 125 to 130,000 words long. That's just where they all landed. Okay, I know that's long, but for adult romantic fantasy, I feel like that's in the ballpark. Because for Stars and Bones, the first book ended up being about 125,000. And every book after that was between 100,000 and 120. They were all in that sweet zone. And I know there are places in like book 4, like the first half, where I can kind of trim some of the fat off, but that's not what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to figure out the story. And so I sat down and I had a very, very rough outline of what I wanted to happen in book 4. So I sat down with that outline and I was like, okay, this is what I'm working with. What else do I need? And over the course of, it might have taken me a week or so, I made a more thorough outline, just trying to fit in like all these characters' different arcs that need to kind of come to a completion. The emotional arc of the main character and her love interest. The main villain that's kind of been threaded through all of these books that we need to like have like a confrontation and all of these things, and what characters need to be where, and like how we're gonna do this, and what twist are we gonna have, how are we gonna defeat the final villain. For a very long time, I didn't know what the main villain's goal was, other than he's just a bad dude. So that was also something that was stopping me from continuing, because like I needed to know why he was doing what he was doing. Fun little fact here: I had the brain blast of what his goals are. I just was like, well, what if this? I'm like, well, what if this in this other book? And that's just how it weirdly happens sometimes, where I'll be working on a different book entirely, and I'm like, well, what if this? Like, all this doesn't really fit here, but it fits in this other book over here. And so I had this idea of like, okay, I know how we're going to add to the lore. We're going to kind of build out like the ancient lore of this world and give this big bad guy kind of more motivation that's like themed kind of in there without giving any spoilers away. And I was able to kind of get that twist. Like, what is his goal? Why does he hate the protagonist so much? And I've got it. Now I've got it. I had it. So then I was able to take that string and kind of work it back through the outline that I had, kind of rewrite the outline for Act 3. And as of right now, I am mostly done with that rough draft of book 4. I have the major scene sketched out, and now I just need to, which I might do today, I might do tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to write on Christmas. I might just be hanging out with family on Christmas, and then I'll just write this weekend. Time out from writing talk. That's another thing that I'm trying to do less of, which is skip out on social events to stay home and write. Now I should hang out with my family on Christmas. So that's something I'm trying to also do less of. Which I did a little post about how I'm writing less but I'm reading more and it's making my writing better. So I'm trying to continue that cycle. But anyway, so of the third act of book 4 is now sketched out, mostly rough drafted. I just have to do that final confrontation scene between the main character and the overall bad guy. And then I just have the closure scenes afterwards. And I went through kind of a panic of how I didn't know if book 4 was really just book 4 or if book 4 should be book 4 and book 5. If I were a better author, sorry, I almost said if I was a better author, better author. If I was a better author, I could make like enough to go into book 5. But then I stopped myself because then I was like, no, that is what all these authors do when a book gets popular. They're like, oh, this trilogy is now 6 books, and then they stretch out the story, and I don't want to be one of those. So I stopped myself from saying that entirely. No, this series has been a quartet for a very long time, and I believe in myself that I can fit all of this story into one book nicely. Because, yeah, there is a kind of a war going on, but the main character, she's not a warrior, so she's not directly involved in like the fighting anything, so she's kind of working in the background, so I have adjusted Act 3, so where we've had like the big battle scene in the middle of the book, and like the second half of the book is focused on the main bad villain, her kind of taking him down while the generals that she has made her allies are dealing with like the war front. They're doing what they do best, and she's going to do what she does best, which is not fight in this big epic battle. Because I personally don't like epic battle scenes. I tend to kind of skim over them in books that I'm reading, and I tend to avoid them as much as possible in books that I'm writing. Because one, I don't like to read them. Two, I don't have, that's just not something that I'm good at writing. Like these fight scenes, I'm not good at writing them. I tend to kind of keep them short and sweet, or the main character or the point of view character in whatever chapter this fighting is happening is not involved in the fight. Because I'm not good at it. It's not did my skill set, and that's fine because some authors are really good at it. That's perfectly fine. We can all be good at different things. If I can stay on the trajectory that I am on and stay hydrated and stay motivated, I think I can finish the rough draft of book 4 by December 31st. I mean, I can do it. I know I can do it, but it's just staying motivated and like not eating all the garbage that makes me feel like garbage and then I can't write. Because, yeah, garbage in, garbage out. It's weird how, eating better makes me write better. I don't like that, but it is how it is. And the plan, my talk to my publisher, the plan is if I can finish this book 4, we might be able to rapid release. This is the symbol for rapid release. A rapid release. I almost did it again. That we can rapid release this quartet like we did with Stars and Bones, where it's just like a book every other month. But it's relying on me getting book 4 done, which it's done. I just have to sit down and write it. So that is where I'm at writing wise, which granted December and November have been pretty decent as far as like writing progress goes, because rough drafts are rough. All right, there's a reason they're called a rough draft. They're not pretty, they're not easy. They take more creative juice, I feel, than like editing like a already done scene, because you don't have to like focus on where is this scene going? What's this character doing? What do they need to say to each other? You focus more on like, is this scene necessary? And if not, you just bloop. Which every once in a while I will vomit out a rough draft in like a week. I've done that before and it's like being on a drug. I can't explain it any other than that. Other than you just have this burst of inspiration and you just go. I don't I don't know what project I'm going to work on after I get done with this quartet. Because I would like to finish book 4, finish my read through of book 3, send it off to my publisher, be like, okay, this is ready for someone to look at it. That way, if there's something major that needs to change, I'm not, in hot water with the ending of book 4. I don't know what the cat is doing over there. It's doing something. Oh, I see you. He crawled under my like over my windowsill and like in the curtain, and I like pulled my side of the curtain. I can just see his little face in the reflection of the mirror. Just, what are you doing? But I also have my a Cinderella, but she's an assassin, a book that I rough drafted, and then now it's part of like a series because I had 3 other works in progress that were just kind of missing something, and then I realized that the main characters were very similar, so I'm like, what if this was all a series? And I did a very, very quick kind of list of like books if these were a series, and it works. And I'm like, what is this wizardry that I did? Did I just like sketch this book out too soon? And that's so weird how that happens. How you kind of sketch a book and then like you don't really have anything else to go on, so you let it sit, and then you come back like 4 years later and it's like you now have the skill set and the knowledge to then take this book and make it something. That's just so weird how that happens. It's like wherever we pull all these ideas from, this magic place we pull ideas from, and if you just pull one too soon. But I also outlined a sequel to The Blood Enchantress that follows her sister after the events of book 1, and then I also very roughly sketched out the plot of book 3 that follows a different character that you meet in book 2. I may or may not have added werewolves to my vampire story. So I have works in progress to last a very long time, which I really kind of feel like that's kind of how it happens with me. Like when I was working on Stars and Bones, I had the idea for this quartet that I'm currently working on. I had the idea for this bounty hunter uh trilogy that's still unfinished. That I sketched out like the plot of book 2 for that one too, and I just never came back to it. So I sketched that one out. I sketched out what would become Heart of Stone, and that's a finished trilogy. And I had the idea for one of the 3 works in progress that is now involved in my Cinderella retelling. And then I didn't have any ideas for a long time, like until Stars and Bones was finished. And then I started working on this quartet and the Bounty Hunter trilogy. And then I just didn't really have any ideas. And all of a sudden, I had, the idea for this gas lamp. That's the cat. I just want you to know, moving that curtain. And now the curtain's not straight anymore. Looked at me. He's like, "Oh, you saw that? Me fall on the floor? You saw that?" But I've got so many works in progress to go into like the next several years with. And I'm looking forward to getting some of these off my plate, including the quartet that I'm working on that I've just had just sitting since like 2019. Well, it's not been sitting. It's been cooking since 2019. Let's say that. It's not just been sitting. And this bounty hunter that I just kind of keep falling out of love with. Book 1 is fantastic. I love book 1. But just I'm trying to put together book 2 and it's just like trying to squeeze juice from a rock. Maybe I'm just not ready for it. I don't know. But stay tuned as we go into 2026 for just these little author updates that I have where I just talk about things that I'm doing, things that I'm working on, and as I pull the curtain back from this mysterious adventure that is writing a book.